everyone, and welcome back to my online teaching platform. We are still finding solutions to 2025 WASSCE questions. That is commerce, all right? And we have one of the interesting questions here, all right? This is one of the compulsory questions. That is paper 2, section A. Paper 2, section A. And this is the second question. All right, so let us find a solution to this problem. A businessman invested some amount of money into two accounts, which pay 11% and 10% simple interest annually. The amount invested at 11% is 140% of the amount invested at 10%. After 3.5 years, he earned a total of 22,580 Ghana cedis and 60 pesos as interest. All right. How much was invested? How much was invested? It means you have to find the principal. You have to find the principal. The amount that you invest is known as the principal. Okay, so you need to invest a certain amount of money before you earn interest on it. So the amount that the person invested, we don't know that amount, but we only know the interest that the amount attracts. That is the 11% and that of the 10%. And it was invested for 3.5 years and it earned a total interest of 22,580 Ghana cedis and 60 pesos. So we want to know the amount of money that the businessman has invested. All right, good. So we have two accounts here, and each one has a particular interest rate. So in the first account, we have it to be 11%, all right, and the second one is 10%. So let's start work. So you can see that the account attracts simple interest and it is done annually. So it means we should focus on the concept of simple interest. All right. So we know that the concept of simple interest is that to determine your interest, you are going to get it as what? Your principal times the time, all right, then times the rate. All right. So to determine the interest that you have obtained on the amount that you have invested, you are going to multiply the amount by the number of years. If it's 5 years, then the time becomes 5. Then by the rate. So if it is 10%, you multiply it by 10%. All right. So this is how we determine the interest that we will be getting on any amount that we invest when it comes to simple interest. Now we have two accounts over here, all right? So the first account earns or pays 11%, okay, simple interest annually. So let us name the first account to be A, and we don't know the amount that has been invested over here, so we can name it to be our P1, okay, principal 1. Then when you take the second account, you can name it as account B. So in account B2, we don't know the amount that has been invested, so we can name it as P2. All right. Now, one of the accounts attract an interest rate of 11%, and the other one also attracts interest rate of 10%. Please, you can interchange it. You can bring the 10% first before the 11%. You are going to get the same answer. All right. Now let us continue on. The amount invested at 11%. The amount invested at 11% is, I'm using P1 to represent the amount invested at 11%. So I'll bring P1 here. The amount invested at 11% is, and that becomes equal to sign. The is over there is the same as equal to, so when it comes to mathematics. So the amount invested at 11%, which is P1, so I've indicated it here, is 140% of the amount invested at 10%. So is 140%, which is 140 out of 100 of the amount invested at 10%. What is the amount invested at 10%? The amount invested at 10% is P2, right? So this is the equation that we'll be getting from the statement. The amount invested at 11% is 140% of the amount invested at 10%. All right. So let us get our equation down. So we are going to get it to be P1 is equal to, here will give us 1.4 times of becomes multiplication, then we have P2. So we are going to get P1, okay, is equal to 1.4 P2. All right. So this becomes one of the equations that we need to derive. So this is our equation 1. I have named it as my equation 1. Let us continue. We have another one here. After 3.5 years, he earned a total of 22,580 Ghana cedis and 60 what pesos. All right. So it means you have to now determine the interest earned on each of the principals, okay? Then you add those interests and equate their result to the total interest that a person has what earned after 3.5 years. So when you take the first principal, okay, for the first principal, the interest that has been earned on this will be, so interest, I can name it interest 1, be equal to this principal, that is the P1, times the time, which is 3.5. Okay, so it's a sum of 3.5 times the rate. When it comes to P1, the rate is 11%. So times 1 out of 100. All right. So we are going to get it as, so here we are going to get it as P multiplying 3.5. So multiplying 11. So we are going to get our interest 1 to be equal to P1 times 3.5 times 11, all divided by 100, all right? So you get 3.5 times 11. Then you divide everything by using your calculator, because you are allowed to use calculator. And this is the result. We are getting our first interest to be P1. So we are going to get P1 multiplying 0.385, right? And we need to write it well. So our first interest will be equal to 0.385, then P1. All right. Now, we need to get the two interests so that we add them to get our total interest. So we take the second principal, so P2, so that we can find the interest earned on the second principal. So we are going to indicate the interest that has been earned on the second principal with I2. All right. So I2 will be equal to the second principal times the same time, because they have all been invested for 3.5 years. So it's going to be 3.5, then at a rate of 10%. All right. At a rate of 10%. So that is 10 out of 100, right? So our second interest N will be P2 times 3.5 times 10, all divided by 100. So we are just calculating the simple interest that has been earned on the second principal. So we have 3.5 times 10, which will give us 35. Then we divide it by 100. Then the result times P2. So we have the second interest N to be 0.35 P2. All right. Okay. Now, it is stated that the total interest N, that is interest 1 plus interest 2, is 22,580 cedis and 60 what pesos. All right. So we are going to now replace our I1 with its value. Our I1 is this is the I1 that you have obtained. This is our I1. So I1 is equal to 0.385 P1, 0.385 P1, and our I2 is also here, is this one, which is 0.35 P2, all equal to 22,580.60. All right. So this is the second equation that we'll be using with the first equation to get what we are asked to find. That is the P1 and they said how much was invested. So it's going to be P1 plus P2. All right. But we need to first find the P and the P1 and that of the P2 before we can add the two to get the total amount invested. Right. So we know our P1 to be 1.4 P2. All right. 1.4 P2. So we are just going to replace so but P1 is equal to 1.4 P2. All right. So wherever I see P2, you plug in 1.4 P. Wherever I see P1 in equation 2, you substitute 1.4 P2 in place of the P1. So we have 0.385 multiplying P1, and now the P1 is 1.4 P2, right? Then plus 0.3 P2 equal to 22,580.60. All right, 0.60. So we now multiply our 0.385 by 1.4. All right, so we are going to get 0.539 P2 plus 0.35 P2 all equal to 22,580.60. So we now have the equation in terms of P2, only P2. So we can now add this since they are like terms. So we have 0.539 plus 0.35. So we are getting 0.0 0.0 sorry 0.8 my pen is disturbing 0.889. All right, 0.889 P2 equal to 22,580.60. All right, so we now make P2 the subject. So we now divide through by the coefficient of P2 is 0.889. That will be 0.889. All right. So we divide the 22,580.60 by the 0.889. So 22,580.60 divided by 0.889. Right. So our P2 is equal to 25,000. All right, 25,400, 25,000. All right, so this is what we had as the result of P1. So we are going to now use this value to determine the P2. All right, sorry, the P. This is the value that we obtain for P2. So we now need to find the value of P1. So, but we have our P1 to be equal to 1.4 P2. That is the first equation that we had. All right. I think we have even used it here. It's here, this one. All right. So now you can replace it. So our P1 will be equal to 1.4 multiplying the value of P2, which is 25,400. All right. So times 1.4, we are getting a result of 35,560. All right, 35,560. So for you to determine the total amount invested, is going to be P1 plus P2. So we add a 2, that will give us 25,400 plus 35,560 Ghana cedis. So at the end, you add a 2 to get the total amount that was invested. So let's just get it. So at the end, we are getting the answer to be 60,960. All right. We are going to get at 60,960 Ghana cedis was the amount, the total amount invested by the businessman. All right. Thank you for watching, and please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos. Please do not also forget to share my videos with others to watch, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Bye.